What's going on, you guys? It's the FPL Penguin back again with another stream for you all. And I'm back with the guest streams, and I'm over the moon to have back on the channel, all the way from their channel, FPL Graduates, Ben and Josh. How are we doing, lads?
Yeah, doing good. Thank you, mate. Thanks for having us on.
No worries, no worries. We'll get straight into it. So basically today we're going to be talking about how we're getting on in Game Week 22. Game Week 23, looking forward to the preview of it, and I'll talk about as well these dreaded postponements that are going on as well. Burnley, which is a sensitive sort of word to use at this very moment of time. But we will be also talking about different things, probably Aston Villa, Coutinho, what a start he's had, returning back to the Premier League under the Steven Gerrard era. So we'll get straight into this. I'll talk about my team, and then we'll move on to Ben and Josh's very soon. So this week, so far, I got 59 points. Took a -4. Currently 35k. I'm over the moon where I am at the minute. From game week 11 till game week 19, I was hovering around the 100k to 300k. So I was a bit depressed about that. FPL depression. But I'm over the moon to be out of that dreaded 100k. Now, so I'm at 35k. Looking at my team, what I've got left. Dennis captain absolutely flopped. Thank you, Burnley. And no North London derby as well. I've also the players I've got left. So hopefully the Leicester Spurs game does go ahead. It sounds like they've got Brendan Rodgers has got Daka back, Thomas and Sayucho all fit and raring to go. But got De Gea left to play. Got the legend himself, Mopay. See what he does tonight. Got that cheeky assist against Crystal Palace, which was an own goal by Crystal Palace. So hopefully it's the Mopay show, not the Trossard show. And hopefully Chelsea can get rid of that Brighton clean sheet as well. Would be nice. So I'm hoping for maybe just a dull game, maybe a 1-1 Mopay to get a cheeky return that game. But yeah, the rest of it, defense going. I think that was from a wild card game week 21. I went for the double City defense, Cancelo and Laporte. I just think going forward as well. God knows where the fiction is, bloody postponements. Yeah, Southampton, Brentford, Norwich, Spurs, Everton. Everton we know as well, 16th for the minute. Look at Dean gone. Rafa's gone, left them down there. So it's worked out well this week, getting a clean sheet against Chelsea. I think that could go well for me. Hopefully, long term, that's what I want to do with my wild card. Try and look at long term. I took a cheeky punt, bringing in Coutinho this week. Got a goal. And Mopay was also part of my -4 as well. So hopefully he does get something. But looking for as well, Coutinho, Everton next, Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton. We were talking about later in the stream. Villa and Villa assets as well. Something that we need to probably talk about long term. Especially if they do get that double game week, this game week, nothing confirmed yet. But yeah, I think the rest of the team, it's not. The midfields obviously look better than the forward line. DCL, disappointed to want to get at another game. So hopefully, new manager, caretaker manager, whatever it's going to be, Big Dunk, whatever his name is, and God knows what his name is. Villa, Newcastle, Leeds. So hopefully, under that new manager, they might have a new manager bounce. Who knows? But they've got a lot of work to do and a lot of catching up to do as well. So that's how I got on. I'm just going to say hello to Glen. We'll get Glen straight in here. Here he is. How you doing, Glen?
Sorry, guys, for late.
No
Hi, Calvin. Hi, Josh. Hi, Ben.
How you doing, mate?
How
you doing?
I'm doing good. Nice to see you guys again. Go on, Calvin.
So cool. We're basically just talking about our team. So I've gone through my team. What I'm going so far. But what we'll do as well, we'll go to game week 23. So what we'll do when I go to each guest, we'll talk about game week 22, and then we'll go game week 23, and then we'll do that. So game week 23, this is how I'm lined up. Obviously, I haven't done any transfers yet. I would love to captain Coutinho, especially if they get the double game week. I know this is new manager bounce, but that's my bench. I've still got my chips left. I've still got my second free hit. I've still got my bench boost, and I've still got my triple captain. With these postponements, you just don't know, and it's just so scary to activate even one of them, it's like, I swear to God, it's like the board game Battleships. You play this game and you go into a bloody game week, and then you've about 2 or 3 of your players aren't playing after the deadline, and it's like that. It really is. So I'm happy. I'm going to see. I was going to do bench boost, but I think that's probably a terrible idea the way this is going. So this is the team I probably will go with. I like the fixtures. Fingers crossed, nothing happens. But they got some lovely fixtures. They really have. But like I said, I'll probably wait because we know it's a Friday deadline. Watford, Norwich. And hopefully just get more clarification, see if those double game weeks will happen, any good ones will happen, and hopefully no more postponements. So that's what I'm going with at the moment. Fingers crossed. What do you think, lads? What do you think of my team? Going into game week 23, quick thoughts. We'll start with Josh. What do you think going forward?
Yeah, I think you look decent, to be fair. I think that double City defence is really good to hop on early. I think a lot of people will be looking towards that, especially Laporte as well, because he's just so cheap. It will allow you to get those positive points off of Cancelo, as he's owned by almost everyone. The Coutinho punt was awesome this week, especially considering he came off the bench as well to get a goal and an assist. It must have been lovely. I think you're unlucky with Maddison with that Leicester postponement. I think a lot of people have got unlucky this week in terms of postponements. Obviously, you had Captain Dennis as well, so it's hit you double there. But yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I'm hoping that the more we get out of these winter months, we see less and less postponements, and hopefully a full week with no postponements would be ideal.
I've just got a message from you guys. You just said that Trossard and Mopé are both benched.
Yeah,
both of them. Why would you bench both of them against Chelsea? Why would?
To be fair, Welbeck scored last time they played them, so who knows? They can play their B team against Chelsea these days.
Well, as long as Trossard's benched, I'm happy about that. So yeah, Mopé and Trossard are both benched. Jesus. But yeah, we'll move swiftly on. We'll go to Josh next. Do you want to?
Yeah,
talk about your team, how your week's going, and mix it about.
Yeah, here we go. Should be up now if you can see it.
Cool, yeah, I'll bring it on screen now. Cheers, pal.
Cool. So yeah, 43 at the minute. I took a -4. I brought in this week Trossard and Ronaldo. So those transfers were absolutely class from me. Not working out so far. De Gea in goal, 4 points. At one stage, he was looking like he was matching Bruno. And then obviously United scored again, and then they conceded twice, which was ace. So 4 points though, considering he conceded 2. I can't really complain with him. He's also got Brentford to play as well. Trent, 10 points, but it doesn't really improve the rank. I'm hoping for an Alonso clean sheet now. Trossard's benched. Maybe even some attacking returns. He seems to get forward quite a bit in the minute. Had a couple of assists in recent weeks. Cancelo as well, unreal player. Loved owning him, but again, the points don't really mean much when he's owned by absolutely everyone. As I said, Trossard bench tonight. Maybe he comes off the bench, but it's just one of those moves where it's like it could be so much upside, but then it's just so much downside when you're taking a hit as well. Especially if Ronaldo maybe got a goal, it wouldn't be as bad, but it's not looking great right now. Jota 3 points. I'm really disappointed with him. I think like seeing the likes of Minamino and Oxlade-Chamberlain getting returns, and the main man in that attack at the minute, he's not getting returns. It's frustrating, but again, he's owned by everyone. I think it's more of a scarcity of not owning him and him like popping off like he seems to do every now and then. I've had Bernardo Silva. He's just sort of lingered around. He's just always there, always a bigger fire to put out. Obviously, he's not really been playing. He plays a lot deeper now. De Bruyne is back in the team. So he'll probably be one on the chopping block in the near future, probably to fund that Salah move when he does come back from AFCON. Lucas, disappointed that I lost the double with him, but I'm hoping for big things against Leicester. Obviously, there's no Son there, so he's going to be Harry Kane's right-hand man, hopefully. Bowen's been amazing. He's been the shining light the past couple of weeks. Captained him last week, obviously, for that double. He's just playing absolutely unreal. Obviously, could have probably had 2 goals in that game. He missed one right at the end. For some reason, chested it over the bar. Dennis, as you said earlier, he's missing his second fixture, which is gutting. I was expecting a lot more from that Newcastle game, to be honest, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles. And then, the obvious glaring mistake is Ronaldo captaincy this week. We obviously knew that he had some sort of injury. It was a yes, it was a no, it was a yes. And then obviously he didn't travel to squad. He's travelled to Brentford though. So I'm hoping that he is going to be playing some form of minutes because obviously the vice captain's on Dennis. Not going to be picking up too many points there. I'll cover my team for next week. I haven't really adjusted it too much, but I'll have De Gea in goal, obviously. Captaincy's currently on Trent. Probably won't stay there, but I don't really see a fantastic captaincy option at the minute. We obviously wait and see how United plays, see if Ronaldo plays against Brentford this week. And then Tierney, Burnley at home. I'm hoping for big things from him. He's so cheap and he just gets forward so much. Cancelo as well, Trossard, Jota, Bernardo, Bowen all have pretty decent fixtures. Even United defensively right now, they're so poor that you could even class it as a good fixture for an attacker. And then Ronaldo, Dennis and Watkins likewise. I'm pretty happy fixture-wise this week in the starting 11. I think a lot of the teams, they're good, like for example West Ham, but they are leaky in defence. Leeds obviously scored 3 past them this week. So I'm hoping we can pick it up because I have dropped quite a bit. I'm down to 24k at the minute from, I was in the top 10k a few weeks ago. So it's not looking great, but I'm hoping we can turn it around. What's your thoughts, guys?
I can't remember if you with the Ronaldo bet. Are you going to keep him long term? Like, if he is he still like an important asset for you, like Cristiano Ronaldo, or would you, because it would save so much money, downgrading him and probably then bolstering your midfield a bit more or your forward line. I mean, is Ronaldo still? Because I know he's probably hard to get rid of. He's Ronaldo. I know you're a Man United fan. Big expectations. The fixtures there as well. I personally am more at the moment, last few months, form over fixtures.
Yeah.
I don't know, but what I mean, you look at those fixtures now. Are you still convinced he's still a good one to keep, like for Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, Leeds especially, who can see goals? I mean, or would you think now I'm going to drop off him and just get someone else in?
I think my thought process before this week was that even if I do take a hit and he will be my captain this week, that he will stay a little bit longer term. The idea is to have him and Salah because I've got a lot of money in that midfield. I'm like mid-tier midfielders like the Bernardos and Jotas. I'd be more than happy to drop off Jota and Bernardo and fund it that way. With those fixtures coming up, you can just almost guarantee some points from him, especially if he comes back in. I imagine he'll just come back straight back into the team. Because he just seems to pick up those points, and his ownership as well is just almost annoying at times. It's like not really high, but it's like it would boost your rank quite well. It's around those 30s and 40%. And we saw with Bruno how much, like with you, Ben, he boosted your rank tenfold this week, and he was around the same sort of ownership. So I think he would be a good one to own because especially in those weeks where he's got Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, Watford, you could argue that he's captainable in all 4 of those weeks. If United sort of pull their act together. But again, it is, like you said, maybe watching out for the form rather than the fixtures as well.
Which defender do you have on the bench, just in case Tierney gets postponed? Because Arsenal currently, I don't think we'll play our game tomorrow against Liverpool. It's still 50-50. And Burnley have played like 1 game in the last 2 years. So a high possibility of that game getting called off. So
can't wait for the 6th game for Burnley to get called off.
Yeah,
relegate them.
Alonso versus Spurs for my bench, and he always loves a goal against Spurs, so maybe we'll see that.
I think you're covered.
You look good, yes. You are covered, yeah. But yeah, anything else to add, guys, to Josh's team?
I want to say that the Tierney pick's a decent one, to be fair. Like Arsenal have got a few games to catch up on, so there's potential of doubles in there. Yeah. But it's like I said, like at the moment, there's a lot of different variation because of people have not got Salah in now. So it's like we'll probably see us sort of all go towards Salah when he comes back in. But yeah, you sounds like you got like a decent plan to get him back in. So it's all good.
Awesome.
Cool. Right, we'll move on to Ben's team.
Now, all right, let me just bring it up.
Magical powers.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this.
I don't want to say it. Take your time, man. So dodgy. Ben is the dodgiest FPL player.
Take it away, Ben. Take it away.
I'm just hearing a bit of salt, really. That's what I'm hearing right now. But yeah, again, like a double game week. Me and Josh were sort of talking about it. I'm on 69 points at the moment. And we were talking about the other day, like if those postponements haven't happened, there's like I could have in theory got to like 100 points maybe, and maybe hit my first like triple digit figure of the season, but it's probably not going to happen now. The Watford double up's not going to happen. I put Ben Foster in goal for this week, got 2 points, so can I complain? Probably not, because I had Guaita on my bench for 0. Like I said, like Trent and Cancelo are just must-haves in everyone's FPL team. Cancelo was a little bit lower owned than usual because the free hitters sort of took out both of them for double game weekers. So if you free hit this week, you're kind of in the mud. Still got Reguilon to play. Not sure whether he's even going to play, to be honest, but we'll wait and see. Rudiger is starting, so could maybe do with a nice clean sheet and maybe a cheeky header or something. He always seems to be scoring in like the midweek competitions, the Carabao Cups and what have you. So hopefully he can get another goal in the Premier League. Again, the Everton lads, disappointing from last week, disappointing this week. I brought in Fernandes and Trossard this week. So I guess that -4 hit for Bruno was worth it. 2 goals, a bit of jam is what you love to see. Hopefully I'll be happy if he sort of gets 3 or 4 points in that Brentford game, if I'm being honest. It's been a good week. It's a green arrow regardless. Bowen, what a boy he's been. I brought him in when he started firing, and yeah, he's just continued ever since. On the bench, sort of Watkins, Dawson, they were in there for their past double game week and future, hopefully double game weeks for Aston Villa. But yeah, sort of pretty much halved my rank this week, from 50k to around 28,000.
Yeah, I'm just looking at your team, and fair play on the Bruno captain. Lovely, differential sort of captain. Bruno Fernandes. I'm glad it wasn't Ronaldo, obviously.
Yeah.
But Bruno Fernandes, especially someone, was it like last season before obviously Ronaldo signed in, and
yeah,
everyone wanted Bruno Fernandes, and it was just like this season at the start. Everybody still wants Bruno. Then Ronaldo signs, and everyone's thinking, can I fit them both in, Bruno, Ronaldo? And then they're thinking, no, I want to go for Ronaldo. I think he's going to do better than Bruno. But yeah, Bruno before the Villa game wasn't doing as well. But I think in that game, without Ronaldo, possibly, he's got a very good chance of doing it again against Brentford.
I thought it was sort of a typical Bruno Fernandes FPL performance of last season. Like he probably didn't deserve that many points, but he got them anyway, and that's kind of what you need from an FPL asset. It's not necessarily the players who deserve the points because they're playing nicely. It's the players that are gonna get those points at the end of the day, and Bruno did that. I wasn't expecting it at all because, like I said, like his form, and I know like I talk about like form being a big part. His form wasn't really there, but the double fixtures were. So it was a case of me just going, I really want the double game week players, and that's why I went for him. With the Trossard pick as well, I was like debating between him and De Bruyne because I kind of want to bring in De Bruyne next week. So it was a case of, I took an L on that part, but I'm more than happy with what Bruno did for me this week.
I'm going to do it right now. Since he's bringing him in, his luck is too good. I'm also going to bring KDB just because of his luck. I'm going to bring him.
I just want to touch on what you was just saying about KDB there. We just saw City's fixtures, what they're looking good. I think they're so awkward, Man City attacking wise, to go for. I know KDB's obviously looks more nailed than Mahrez and stuff, and I think it's all about the defense at the minute. Even Cancelo gets those attacking returns, and I think just if you do, you go with KDB if you do think about it. But I think like if you want to try to go someone similar like me, Laporte, he's probably, he gets some good returns, goal or assists. He's got some good stats behind assists. So play it safe maybe with fixtures, because it's hard to tell, when those good City's fixtures, who's gonna do well. And KDB is such a lot of money, worth a punt, but it's a lot of money. So
yeah, I agree. I agree with you in that sense, but also like I'm kind of thinking on the other hand, like what City assets are actually sort of guaranteed to play. We saw Ruben Dias at the weekend get benched because John Stones is back now as well. So it's a case of sort of balancing it up. Yes, De Bruyne's a lot of money, but in my opinion, out of like all the City attacking assets going forward anyway, he probably has the highest ceiling out of a lot of them. So I'm going to I'm 90% sure that I'm gonna bring him in for Trossard and probably captain him. I think he's a standout captaincy option at least for this week. And with FPL, like right now especially, it's really difficult to sort of look into the long term of what you're going to do with your team. And I think for now, for next week, De Bruyne has the best fixture out of pretty much every player on FPL.
Yeah, I think one thing as well, similar to what you were saying, Calvin, is with the City attackers, they just spread the returns around. Like it's not necessarily all. When you go to like Liverpool, the majority is going to be through Salah, but with City, we've had Foden get hauls, we've had Mahrez get hauls, we've had De Bruyne get hauls, Bernardo Silva. Like it's through a lot of different means. But I think right now, if you're going to choose someone, any attacker from that City team for next week, it definitely would be De Bruyne. It's almost like he's had his little pre-season at the start of the season, and now he's kicking into gear. And yeah, they're just cruising to the title, so I don't see him slipping up anytime.
Cool, fair enough.
Ben,
yeah.
do you reckon De Bruyne is the penalty taker now? Because I've seen like 7 different players taking the penalties. Because De Bruyne is taking Gundogan, Mahrez, Sterling, Jesus.
I would like to think, whilst Mahrez is at AFCON, yes, I'd like to think De Bruyne would be on pens. But you never know, do you?
It's pet roulette. You just don't know. You don't know. But yeah, we'll move on to or anything else you want to add, guys, to Ben's team, or Ben? Are you
the only other plan I had was sort of next week maybe bringing out Rudiger as well for -4, and maybe bringing in, if Villa have a double game week, someone like Digne. That's my only other sort of thoughts that I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Villa do get this double game week, and so I'm looking forward to see, because Gerrard is really building a really his own squad now under this Gerrard era. We'll move on now to Glen. Glen, do you want to share your screen, like your team, or do you want to send it to me on Twitter?
Yeah. No, I've already shared it.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I think. There it is.
You should probably have come to me first and then the experts later. The Bruno Fernandes containers and all that. So as you can see, my team is really different. First of all, I was tempted to play my World Cup because of 2 players. As you can see, I don't have Cancelo and Bowen, and it really hurt me. I was hoping that Antonio would cover Bowen and also Walker would cover Cancelo. I've been a bit unlucky in the last couple of weeks. For example, I had Schmeichel on my bench and he saved Salah's penalty. I did have Salah as my captain that week. I have also had Rodri scoring against Arsenal of all teams, and he was my 3rd sub as well. So if I did have him in my team that day, it would have been a massive differential. So Guaita is in goal. Schmeichel will come in for him, obviously. Alexander-Arnold, obviously, 10 points. Connor Cody is the guy I really love owning. I don't think too many people have him, and I've had him for like 7 weeks. And the usual 1-pointers you usually get. Connor Cody has only had one pointer this season, and that's because Wolves never concede more than 1 goal in a game. It's usually like 1-1, 2-1. They never concede more than 1 goal. He's only done that once. It was against Crystal Palace, like back in game week 6. So he scored like 2 goals. I think he has an assist as well, like 8 clean sheets for Wolves. So Connor Cody, like the last 4 weeks, it's been 30 points. I'm very happy with that. It's a massive differential. Walker, another bad luck pick. I did get him, and then he had trouble with Guardiola and trouble with, I think, his friend and something. So he missed like 2 games, but he did come back with a clean sheet. Rudiger, obviously, you guys have talked about him, hoping for the header Ben talked about. Now, Jota, I'm still in the cup. I don't know if you guys usually consider the cup and your opponent and what they're going to do, but I looked at my cup opponent and he had Jota, so I decided to bring in Jota just to try and avoid whichever gain he's going to get from Jota. So I brought him in and I captained him that week, or this week. He obviously didn't deliver, and he hit the post. He had another chance as well. Very, very painful. Ward-Prowse as well, and massive differential. I remember Ben and Josh asking me, Ward-Prowse 4 weeks ago, but he's definitely worked until now. What a free kick, man. Lucas, you guys have talked about him. Antonio, he should have had an assist for the Bowen goal, but a part of me was like, no, if it's going to be a Bowen goal, it'd rather not be an Antonio assist. I actually was so amazed that he missed that. I was so happy he missed it. Dennis, obviously 2 points, no fixed in midweek. My cup opponent has him as the captain, so I'm hoping that could help if only Ronaldo could play. So Schmeichel will come in for Guaita. And I don't think there'll be any other changes. But yeah, I'm trying to get Bowen and Cancelo in my team whichever way. Probably now that Rudiger doesn't have too many fixtures soon, I probably go City double up in defense, just bring Cancelo for Rudiger, and then just stick with how it is and just go without Bowen for a couple of more weeks. So my transfer for this week has already been made. I can go to next week already. My transfer for this has already been made, and as you can see, we were thinking the same. Calvin Coutinho is in for Lucas Moura. I don't like Lucas Moura as a pick. I think he's only scored like 1 goal or something this season. I don't like him as a pick. He doesn't score goals. So he was only there for the double game week, but only one game this week. So Coutinho is in for Lucas Moura, and that is how my team looks like. Smith Rowe, if he doesn't play, Rudiger will be in, Ward-Prowse will be in for White. And surprisingly, just like Josh, Alexander-Arnold has the captaincy at the moment. That's how my team looks like. I know I do need to get a couple of players, but with all the postponements, I'm happy to keep it like this.
Yeah, it's a really nice team, and just to touch on someone with like Ward-Prowse, scoring, getting those points. But I'd love FPL to introduce like UEFA and even AFCON Fantasy, like points for duels, points for ball recoveries and stuff. It would make players like Ward-Prowse even more appealing, wouldn't it? Because they get them extra points. Because if you play AFCON Fantasy or UEFA Fantasy, UEFA Champions League Fantasy, you're getting those extra points for, like I said, duels and ball recoveries and key passes and stuff. I just wish FPL would introduce that, and it would be nice to pick players like Ward-Prowse a bit more, especially being, I think he's relatively cheap. How much is he, Ward-Prowse? About 5 something?
Yeah, around right now 6.3. I got him at like 6.1. He's already gone up like 0.2 since I got him like 3 weeks ago.
See, I'd love to choose players like that, especially him, McGinn, just players that can give you those extra points, especially if they're cheap, like 5.4, 5.5. That's just putting it out there. But I don't know if FPL ever do that. But yeah, it's a good team. It's good going forward. You got Coutinho in there as well. Little magician scoring on his return. But yeah, what do we think, Ben, Josh, Glen's team going forward?
You go first, Ben.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. Obviously, Glen has to go with the Arsenal double up. I'm not too sure like what Smith Rowe's injury is like or whatever, or why he's even yellow flags. I can't lie. Since I got him out, I've kind of just forgotten about him because he just kept, coming off the bench, scoring, and then he stopped scoring off the bench. So we're just like, what do we do with him now? But yeah, I think Coutinho is a good shout, especially if Aston Villa double. Like, I can see a lot of people jumping off Trossard or any of the sort of double game week players that they had if they accidentally brought in Maddison before that game was postponed, and getting onto the Coutinho hype train, because like he is a good player. And I think like for this double, he showed a bit of form, a bit of something to prove maybe. So yeah, I think that's a good call.
You think, Josh?
Yeah, I agree with what Ben's saying about Coutinho. He's like a step ahead. For me, I have Watkins, so I don't know if I'd double up in Villa attack, even if they did have a double personally. But I think he's a good shout. Surely he starts the next game as well. I think a really nice differential would be Ramsey. He's like, 4.6 million. He's literally bench fodder, and he's almost guaranteed starts right now. He's been playing really well this season. I know my girlfriend has him in this week. Her midfield was Bruno, Gallagher, and him. So she's outscoring me this week, that's for sure. I really like the Wolves defense pick as well. Probably I wouldn't choose Cody if it was me personally. I think Alec Nouri's looking really good going forwards. He got the assist, I think, for the penalty. But yeah, I think Wolves in general just gone massively under the radar defensively. Like you mentioned earlier, Glenn, they only really tend to concede 1 goal at a push. Sar's obviously been picking up loads of plaudits for that. So I think we'll see a lot of Villa and Wolves defenders coming into our teams, especially when these Chelsea boys go on is it the Club World Cup tour or whatever they go on?
Every time Cody or Ward-Prowse gets a return, I see a very big green arrow. But every moment Cancelo or Bowen return the next day, it's usually back down. So just trying to figure out how to get Cancelo and Bowen alongside those differentials. And then I can start catching up with the big boys, the likes of Ben.
Cool. Yeah, what we'll do, we'll move on now to back over here, and we're going to talk about the next topic, something from Kobe as well. Kobe sent this in, it's at the bottom screen. Villa assets going forwards. We'll talk about Aston Villa. Gerard Aries really got things going. Signed Luca Digne. Also, with who else did they sign as well? They just signed a goalkeeper from Roma, I think. Olsen. Yeah. And also Coutinho, of course, little Coutinho. But yeah, so what did you guys make of anyone watch the match? Focus on it. What do you think of Villa, Coutinho in particular? Josh?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I've watched it. Well, I've watched them in the FA Cup against United as well as the Prem game, and I've watched them before that. Just since Gerard's taken over, I've really been interested to see what he does with the Villa team, because I think his style really suits the Premier Leagues, and you're seeing it a lot, especially the fullbacks, especially that they get forward so much. We've seen Cash, Digne, even Target when he was in the team. They just get forward a lot. Digne had a shot on target and he scored from in United game, I remember. So I think defensively as well, they're not too bad. Maybe not the best, but definitely there's some clean sheets there to be had. So if you get those fullbacks who are arguably wingers at times in that system, I think that's one of the best options if you have to pick one that I would go for personally. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
Ben?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
Oh, Ben.
sorry.
He's swimming in his success. Just swimming in his success.
Yeah, I just zoned out. I was just looking at my Bruno Fernandes captain again. And,
stop staring at him. Right. We're talking about Villa, Coutinho, Villa fixtures going forward. What's your thoughts on it? Did you watch the game against United, the league game, Coutinho?
So yeah, funnily enough, I was sort of like on my way home from work as that Aston Villa United game was going on in the league, and I managed to somehow miss both of Bruno Fernandes' goals. But yeah, I watched that Villa comeback and they looked really good, and I liked how far forward sort of Lucas Digne was getting. The fullback's really nice and high and wide, so really promising for that. Like Josh said, like he's got Watkins, I've got Watkins as well, so I'm not sure I'd double up going forward with Villa, but like I'd be very tempted if I owned Watkins, and I'd maybe look at Luca Digne or even Matty Cash. Like his underlying numbers are still fantastic as well.
Do you know who I do like? I think we should probably consider if we're going forward. We're like probably. I think Watkins is a bit of a weird one to. I don't know. I'm not that. We'll get Glen's thoughts in a minute as well, but I just want to quickly just add as well. Get on the screen. Ramsey. I don't know what you're thinking. Not Gordon Ramsay. Jacob Ramsey. He's about 4.6 million. 2% owns. He's got 3 goals, 1 assist. He got a goal and an assist in that game against United. I mean, we'll go to Glen. What's your thoughts on Ramsey? Is he somebody you would consider, especially if they get a double game week this week?
So this week I was to bring us Aston Villa players. So I did look at Coutinho and Ramsey. I did look at Ramsey fast, but I didn't go for him because I didn't want too many cheap midfielders in my team. I wanted like a midfielder, like a mid-price midfielder I could depend on. So Ramsey noticed once Coutinho came on, that's when Ramsey looked very good. I don't know if he allowed him to push further forward. I'm not sure. I also need to remember that McGinn, for example, didn't play the other day, and a couple of other players. So what happens when McGinn comes back after suspension? Will Ramsey be next to him? Will Ramsey push more forward? If Coutinho starts, who's on the bench? Probably Ings. So I really do like Ramsey. I remember he scored against Norwich as well a few weeks back. But as a player, like a fifth midfield in your team, definitely. But in my case, like if you already have like a Rodri or a Bissouma in your team, I don't think I'll go for another 4.5, 4.6 midfielder. Maybe if it's just the one, like instead of Rodri in my team, I'd have this guy. Definitely. He looked very good when Coutinho came on.
What do you think, lads? Ben, what do you think of Ramsey? Is it somebody keep an eye on? What's your thoughts?
First of all, I can't believe Glen's just assumed everyone has Rodri in their teams. But yeah, I think moving on to Ramsey, I think he's a good option. He's a player that sort of has been starting recently for Villa, and I think for a player at that price point, that's all you need. And the attacking returns that he's getting just proves his value right now. So I'll definitely get him in for form. I mean, if you're sort of looking for a budget option, I don't think there's anyone else you'd look at right now.
You think, Josh?
Yeah, I mentioned him a little bit earlier. I think it's his last 4 game weeks. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists. Admittedly, both come in, well, half the returns coming in 2 games. But yeah, I think he's a good option. And like you say, at the price, you can't turn your nose up if he doesn't even play. Like, he's literally just bench fodder at the end of the day. A little bit more expensive maybe than like a Gilmore or whoever the 4.3 option is. But I think we'll see a lot of people turn to him when they look at Salah in the not so distant future, because he's going to be one of those little placeholders that you can fit in around.
Yeah, so this is Ramsey just gone score and how he did against Manchester United. 2 shots on target, 1 goal, 1 assist for 90 minutes. So you can see on the heat map, he just likes to creep into the box quite a bit. But yeah, I do like him personally. I think he's such a nice, lovely little cheap. There's not many who are FPL players who are getting that goals or assists at that price. There's a lot of them just like very, very cheap that are just like, as I said before, could be ones that if the game introduced for ball recoveries and all that and points for stuff like that. But I think Jacob Ramsey's a Gerrard player. I think Gerrard likes to build this guy up, this kid up, and get him so many games. I think he's a lovely player to eye up. I really do, and I think he's just going to thrive under Gerrard and the Gerrard era. I think he's enjoying his football definitely under Gerrard. I think the players they're bringing in, Luca Dean, Coutinho, to support him, making them more attacking, getting Jacob more involved in the game. I think he just looks really good, and I'm a big fan of him. I honestly this week would honestly do a free transfer. I think probably wouldn't take hit. I don't think I need to take a hit unless it's postponements. I don't think I'll go that far. But if the double game it comes for Villa, and who they got this week, they've got Everton, and so God knows I don't know what the other fixtures are. I need to look at the man himself, Ben Crellin. But yeah, to add to that, if it's a lovely one, I think that even if it's like, God knows if they have, but I think if they have a double game week, I would be probably tempted to go and bring Ramsey in on a free transfer and have Ramsey and Coutinho for a double game week if it does happen this week. Because I think going forward as well, Everton, Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton, Southampton. I think it's all about jump aboard the hype train for it. So and see if it works. So that's what probably.
You definitely think he's going to replicate those numbers, because Josh will tell you. I think the midfield for Man United allowed him too much space. Like Friday, it is so easy to get past that midfield. So I think he'll actually replicate that every single game, or at least 2 out of 3 games.
Well, I think Man United are Man United. I think Josh will agree that Man United are United. But I think you see the results here. They had Liverpool, they've had Norwich, they've had Chelsea, and then they've had lost to Brentford. But I think, that was Luca Dean's first game against game on his debut. So I think I wouldn't mind taking a punt. I think the defence, I probably wouldn't feel as tempted to go on their defence like Luca Dean or Cash just yet. I know a lot of people are eyeing Luca Dean. I personally would feel more safe for going for a bit of fun, having a double Villa attack. I think the defence I'm kind of weighing up still at the moment. I think Luca Dean is probably a yellow card magnet. I think he was at Everton. I think he picked up a few yellow cards during his time there. So I kind of just want to, and also it might be a rotation with Target. I don't know if Target's still a favourable guy under the Gerrard era, but he could be rotation with Target as well. So I personally, and also Concer's out as well, God knows how long. So personally, I just want to go for a bit of fun and probably take a punt on it and go Ramsey Coutinho. That's what I personally would probably do. What's that say? Glen's saying what a hater Ben is. So we'll move on now. We'll add another one as well on Villa as well, and then if we can see what else we can talk about as well, probably Newcastle. But we'll also talk about as well Luca Dean versus, I know it says is it Target? No, it says Luca Dean. Cash is a better pick than would you think Cash is a better pick than Luca Dean? I know Dean's stats include his Everton gains. We can have a look as well, a bit of comparison if I can try and bring it up. Because there we go. So I don't know what you guys think. Are you you all aboard the? Would you go Villa defensive assets now, or would you wait and just see how Lucas does in the next few games? What would you think? Because Cash has always been very, very attacking. Target was always very, very attacking. But if you had to choose one of them, who would you go for? Matty Cash or Luca Dean? We'll start with Ben.
I think the sensible option is Matty Cash. Like he gets a high number of touches in the box for a fullback especially. Created a lot of chances and had opportunities for goals as well this season. And like you said, with the Digne and Target, it could be a little bit of rotation. So I think the safer option is Matty Cash, but I also do think like if Digne does get a run of games, his ceiling's probably a little bit higher because of his delivery and his sort of history in the Premier League at producing sort of high digit returns and that sort of thing. So it's just a case really of weighing it up. Both have got like sort of pros and cons either side. But yeah, it's sort of, a 50-50 split between them two right now.
Yeah, because Matty Cash in that game against Manchester United, the league game, he got 77 touches, while Luca Dean got about 66. And then talking about as well shots on towards goal, he had no shots in the whole game. That was Matty Cash. And Luca Dean had one shot on target and one off. Crosses wise, Luca Dean had 6. One of them was accurate. The other one was Matty Cash with 5 crosses, and 3 of them were accurate. But it's a tough one. Josh, what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with Ben?
I think I'd probably personally sway towards Lucas Digne. He's on set pieces, which is a massive thing that Matty Cash isn't on. And we see from the heat map, I know it's one game that they've played together, but we see that Digne is slightly further forward than Cash. We all know Digne's main threat is his set pieces. He's not tends to be that marauding fullback that gets forward and dribbles past a few players. His key thing is set pieces. So him on them, especially being like one of the only left-footed players in that team, I think we will see a good few assists, especially with the likes of Mings, Courtney Hawes, Conser. They're all really good aerial defenders and they like to get a goal. So I think we'll see a few assists from set pieces for him. And that's why I personally would go Digne over Cash.
What about you, Glenn? What's your thoughts on it?
It's like a 55-45% like differential for the two. So I do agree with Ben for most part of it. I think Cash, and also because of what you said, Penguin, the rotation risk I think is too much. For the double game weeks, I'm not sure Lucas Digne will play for both games or Target will come in. I know Gerrard doesn't play Ashley Young as a left back, but he's also on that side as well. So I think the rotation risk is too much. And there's also 2 or 3 ways this weekend could go. If you believe in history, Matty Cash did score against Everton last time out in the home game, so he could do it again. Lucas Digne could shine against his former team at his former stadium, but he could also go mad and get a red card in that game. So there's 2 or 3 ways it could go according to that. But in terms of long term, I would go for Matty Cash because Digne is a bit of a rotation risk. I don't think he'll play every single game.
Fair enough. Cool. Let's see who else we got. We've got Ramanathan saying Ramsey or Watkins in for me, using a free transfer each game for me, I think. And then you're saying as well, Ramsey, Watkins, Coutinho on the options. I think the only options, McGinn's obviously McGinn. He's not going to really get anything. I know he's scored goals, but, fair enough. But I think when you look at it, even defensive wise, you could. It's like we were talking about with Target and Luca Dean. It's whole rotation. You've also got Mings in there. That's like 5 million. You could look at defensive options, but attacking options. Buendia hasn't really hit the heights. How many was he got so far? 1 goal and 3 assists so far this season. He got last time he got return was against Brentford in a 2-1 loss. There was huge hype with Buendia, wasn't there, from Norwich? Bit disappointing. But yeah, it's all about Ramsey, Watkins and Coutinho at the minute. I think they're the 3. But I think, like I said, I think the midfielders get those extra points. I'd probably look away from Watkins at the moment and just probably look at Ramsey and Coutinho. I think they're the 2 players that just look absolutely spicy at the minute. We can have a little look as well. Coutinho. Where is Coutinho? So let's scroll down here. There he is. Little Coutinho. That's not much of a great heat map, is it? But 22 minutes, and he got a goal, but he didn't really get the assist. It was Fred with the little pass. I was a bit gutted because I was watching the highlights and I was slow motion watching it. I was watching, are you sure it's not an assist? And then Fred did get a tiny touch. I was watching it so slow in the highlights, but yeah, I think honestly, 2 shots on target. I think Coutinho is a bit of that free roam player, same as he was for Liverpool. I'm grinning here. I really do think he could be. He's 7 million. I think he could be a lovely asset going forward. I really do think so. And I expect him to probably start the next game. I think Gerrard, he did say before that game, he's ready to unleash Coutinho, and hell, he unleashed him. He scored the bloody goal to equalise and keep a point at Villa. But yeah,
that second shot on target from Coutinho is where Ramsey literally stood in front of him. It could have been a goal, by the way, if Ramsey didn't actually block his view of the goal. Could have been 3-2 to them, but that second shot on target was a good attempt as well, outside the box.
I know. Also look as well. I think this is from Kobe. Here we go, Kobe. So I'll bring this back on the screen. And basically, it's what's it say? It says thoughts on Leeds assets. He's just sent that in now. Let me just get this on the screen. So basically, Leeds assets. We know Leeds, they had like a full bench of young lads, very, very young lads, and one of them was a 15-year-old. So that was something. I don't know why Burnley couldn't have done the same, but hey ho. Because what's the point of having an academy? But maybe it's just the rules. I don't know. I don't know. We could touch on that actually. What's your thoughts on that before we get into Kobe's question? It's, you know, Burnley, another game. I know one of them against Spurs a few weeks back was to do with snow and stuff. But what's your thoughts on this? Could Burnley have not brought up players from the academy, and was that not in the rules or something like that? Josh, should we start with? What's your thoughts on what's going on at Burnley?
I think Burnley, they could. I guess they could bring up the academy players. We never know how many COVID cases they have. So like we've seen at Arsenal, it could get called off for any amount. I think it is worse when you're seeing the top teams get calling off the games because they have massive squads. Like Arsenal, for example, letting players go out on loan, like releasing players, and then here they are cancelling the North London derby about 24 hours before it's meant to go ahead. Like I think they're the worst cases. With Burnley, we all know that they're not the biggest club in the world, and they maybe don't have the biggest infrastructure in terms of an academy. So maybe those guys aren't maybe ready to step up to the first team in the Premier League. But I think I do sort of agree with what Gary Neville's been saying. Like from now, it should sort of be stopped. And if you just play the team that you've got, we saw with, I think, Van Gaal, when he was in charge of United, we were playing like 6-7 academy players. That's why Rashford's now the player that he is, because he just got the chance when there was so many injuries.
Yeah, it just bugs me. It really does. What's your thoughts on it, Ben, with whole Burnley postponements and just not being able to field out a 11 in their opinion? What's your thoughts on it all?
I think Burnley probably would have wanted to play that fixture, but obviously like the financial reward for staying in the league is so high that you don't want to sort of risk especially as a Burnley team playing your academy players, an unbalanced sort of game in the Premier League. And I think ideally you'd want to be able to play them games, but you know, let's not get it twisted. I don't think Sean Dyche is going to be happy that he's got having all these games to catch up on and potential like sort of double and triple game weeks coming up. Yes, it's probably good from an FPL perspective, makes it a bit more interesting, but I don't think Sean Dyche wants that either. So it's just a case of, you know, you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. So it's like, it's difficult to sort of make a informed judgment when, you know, us as fans don't really get to see, you know, who's got COVID, what's going on. Like it's a difficult one.
It's game week 38 and Burnley have 19 league games to catch up on. Could just see it now. Glenn, what's your take on it all with Burnley and these postponements? What's your thoughts on it all?
I mean, you're saying it as a joke, but it could be true, like game week 38 and everything. But Josh is right. Arsenal was never supposed to postpone that game against Tottenham. Burnley as well. But I guess the teams felt like the previous teams who had postponed games had kind of cheated, so they felt the same. The first 3 games that were postponed from Burnley, it was not their fault. It was the other teams postponing and also the weather. But the next, I think, 3 or 4 were because of Burnley. Now, Newcastle against Southampton, I think it was just before Christmas. That game was never supposed to be postponed. I felt like Newcastle did it just to get the signings in. I felt like Newcastle postponed those last 2 games to do that. And I feel like Burnley also feeling the need to do that as well, since they're battling them at the bottom. They're like, you know what? Since Newcastle postponed their games to get signings in, let's do the same thing. So they're not meant to postpone the games. Those are so many games they've postponed. I don't think even the Arsenal game will go ahead anyway. But you can't really blame them. They've seen what other teams are doing, and I don't think they have such a big academy. I've seen all the other academy teams playing, like United, Leicester, Arsenal, Chelsea. I've never really seen Burnley, so I don't think the academy is that big or that have too many good players. So I do understand why, but they need to get some games done quickly. I don't think having 2 games in 3 days and later in the season would help anyway, because of the fatigue and everything.
Yeah, I was going to go on to what Kobe's question with Leeds, but I kind of want to talk about Newcastle, and I was going to get my mates on hopefully next time. Carl is a big Newcastle fan, but I want to just talk about quickly as well. I feel this is something that we should talk about as well, because you got Newcastle. They've signed Trippier. They've signed Chris Woods. To me, pretty underwhelming. Well, Chris Woods a pretty underwhelming signing, but only time will tell. He's probably clinical. He's one of those poachers. See how he adapts to the Newcastle. And like I've said to people about the whole takeover at Newcastle, you know, Man City, when they were bought, it took about, for the first 2 seasons when they were bought, after they were bought, 2.5 seasons, they were just signing average signings. They weren't signing like Aguero. He hadn't arrived yet, or other players. So, you know, Newcastle, maybe only time will tell, but if they go down to the Championship, you know, can you imagine that if they go down to the Championship this season? But they are linked with another defender. I think he's from Sevilla. Is it Carlos? Or is that his name?
Yeah, Diego Carlos.
Yeah, they were linked with Nat Phillips as well from Liverpool. But, you know, have they won a game yet? I'm not trying to be like banter or anything like that, but I really don't know. Have they actually won a game yet? Like, with Chris Wood or Trippier? I think I know they lost to Cambridge, but I mean, what's your take? I mean, on Newcastle, you look at the fixtures there. On Newcastle, these signings, have these signings so far, Trippier and Chris Wood, have they made you feel like, yeah, they're pretty good signings? I think they're decent, but I think we're all expecting. Obviously, I wasn't like thinking Mbappe or Haaland or something like that to suddenly step on outside St James's Park. But what's your thoughts on Newcastle? Just quickly, they've got Leeds next. Chris Wood's a former club. But what's your thoughts? We'll start with Ben. Do you think Newcastle? What have you thought of the signing so far? And have you seen any of the games with Chris Wood, or do you think Chris Wood can start banging in the goals for him?
I think sort of Newcastle, it's a risk-free one for them with Chris Wood. They weaken a fellow relegation rival whilst also knowing that they've got a player that's going to graft for them, even if they do go down. He'll be a good fit in the Championship anyway. So I think it's a smart signing from Newcastle, and they're not sort of being deluded about it and thinking, if we spend all this money, we're definitely not going to go down. Like they are planning like sort of almost 2 plans in a way. Like 1, we stay in the Premier League. 2, we go down to the Championship. So I think they're being quite smart about it. Whether we're going to see them sort of as good FPL assets, I'm not too sure about Chris Wood. I'm not too sure about Trippier either. It's just a wait and see for me, really. See who Newcastle bring in. I don't see them sort of bringing in enough players to really change my opinion on the Newcastle assets. But it's a wait and see job.
What do you think, Josh, on Newcastle? Do you think these signings so far? Do you think that any more signings? Do you think Newcastle? What's your thoughts on Newcastle with this takeover and these players they've signed so far? Do you think Trippier, this Carlos fella? Do you think that? What's your whole take on it, mate? With so far.
I think where they shot themselves in the foot was the manager that they hired. I don't think Eddie Howe is long term what they're going to want for me personally. You've seen him at Bournemouth. He's had a lot of money to spend down there. They eventually got relegated. I think that's the main thing that puts me off with them, because they could have all this firepower, but if it's not managed correctly, like we've seen at loads of different teams, it's not going to work well. I do agree with what Ben's saying. They're sort of like not really pushing the boat out too far in terms of what players they're signing and being prepared if they need to drop down to the Championship. Because realistically, other than maybe St. Maximin, Callum Wilson, the rest of their team is probably going to bounce back in the Championship. I don't think you see many others leaving if they were to get relegated. So, like you said, Chris Woods makes Burnley a lot worse. Like, who are they playing up front now? Vidra, Rodriguez, Barnes. He was definitely their go-to man. I think I've seen that he scored 20 goals in about 60 appearances in the Premier League, Chris Woods. So you can't turn your nose up at that. He likes a goal, and he seems to score in bunches rather than consistently. So maybe you can do that towards the back end of this season for Newcastle.
Well, I mean, hey, Burnley could be signing Andy Carroll soon, so big Andy Carroll up front. Who would not say? Is it Glen? Is it Glen? We've not got your thoughts on Chris Wood. What's your thoughts on Chris Wood? Do you think? I think he's 6.7 he is. But looking at fixtures, we've got Leeds next, Everton, Villa. God knows if do they have a double game week still? Well, they've got a few fixtures postponed, have they?
Yeah.
Southampton, did you say? Was it Glen earlier?
Yeah. So
what's your thoughts,
even if right there on that graphic it was written Chris Wood 8 goals, I still wouldn't consider him. Even if his next fixture was against a very average team like Reading, for example, I'd still not consider him. I'd still not consider him. Reading, this guy's Reading. Sorry, we know there's fun here.
Shots fired.
For Chris Wood and Newcastle, I don't know why they've never added defenders, because I do think they need defenders. Trippier was a good signing, yes, but they still need other defenders. I've never ever considered Newcastle at all. Those players you've said, Penguin, those guys they've signed, they probably needed someone like, a Jesus or a Mohamed Salah or a Gabriel, some Bible or Quran figures just to help them out. That's how deep they need to go, because these guys they're signing right now will still not help them. So I'm not a fan of Newcastle, whichever fixtures they're playing. I do think they can get a couple of wins at the end of the season to survive, maybe. But as of now, I don't like their signings. Trippier is a good one, but how far will he really improve them? I don't think so. Chris Wood, if they're just like a set-piece team like Burnley is, then you would see the reason. But the way St. Maximin plays and everything, they need kind of quick players like Wilson. So I just don't understand. I also expected the likes of Mbappe, Penguin, those kind of players they've been targeted to. So for me, Newcastle is a definite no.
Okay. Right, we'll wrap things up there now, guys. I want to say thank you so much to my guests, Glen, Ben, Josh. Check out their channels. We'll let them give a shout out. Glen, where can we find you, mate?
Glen Kitely, everything Arsenal, and also Glen Kitely, everything football. So I do predictions, FPLs, and AFCON and all that.
Cool. And Ben, Josh, where can we find you lads?
Yeah, FPL Graduates everywhere, all platforms. Just type in FPL Graduates and we'll be there.
And TikTok.
Yeah.
I've got into it now for last month. TikTok, FPL TikTok. Jeez. But yeah, thank you, lads. And also, I'll leave the links down below as well in the description. Thank you very much, guys. Hit that like button and do subscribe to myself and these awesome lads. And hopefully see you guys in the next stream. Bye-bye.